remember that day in LA when I played all my songs for you. We laughed and we smiled and we dreamed for a while, and we wished that it all could be true. Out on a limb like an old pair of jeans, and I feel like I ought to go home. And I still don't know why, but the time passed us by, and this feeling won't leave me alone.
Hi, I'm Marilynn Tucker. I am from Tennessee and consider myself a true Tennessean, a true Southerner, believe it or not. I grew up in Nashville, East Nashville, and did my early schooling there. After that, we moved to Franklin. My father was an architect, a war hero of World War II. He was in the Baumbach Black Sheep. My mother was an intelligent woman who really guided me through life. I have a brother who's older than me. He's a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. I went to University of Tennessee Law School. I got a graduate degree at TSU in adult education, and I got my education degree from Vanderbilt the Peabody campus. I lived the typical 1950s, 1960s childhood. I had a very good upbringing. My parents were both very intelligent. I had intelligent relatives and friends and stuff. My friends were from all walks of life. My parents never schooled me on politics. We never had much in the way of political discussions until Kennedy ran for president in 1960. So one day I heard that there was going to be a march originating at Vanderbilt going to downtown Federal Courthouse. And so that was my first time to go and demonstrate and really feel like I was making a difference. That brought me to moving to Florida for a couple of years in order to go to school there for a while. And I got involved in a on-campus student union sort of thing that demonstrated constantly against the war on Vietnam. I had a little bit more time than some of the others in the group, so I took on a leadership role. And we constantly demonstrated, we put out pamphlets, leaflets, we passed them out, we protested things. The thing that really was impressing me in the back of my brain, slowly moving to the front of my brain, was the women's groups, the feminist groups. And so when I came back to Nashville in early '73, I just walked right into a feminist meeting, and that began really who I am today. One day, in this particular place that we met at Scarrett College, a new woman walked in. She was older than us, not much, but she'd been around as far as demonstrations and being an activist. She brought up the fact that she felt the most important thing at that time for women was safety, that there were too many women who were not able to go out at night by themselves, that weren't able to come home from work or go to work at night, that even in their own homes were the subject and object of violence. And we started to think about what can we do for them. And we came upon the idea that we need to have a conference that brought this whole issue to the community, number one, and then from there hopefully get support that will allow us to build a place or an idea or service that would help women in need when it comes to their personal safety. And it just spiraled from there. Someone called us and said, hey, I've got a house I have trouble renting, and when I do rent it to someone, it's torn up. It's on 21st Avenue, which is right in the Vanderbilt Peabody College area. And he said, I'm willing to rent it to you for hardly anything. It was 3-story, had a basement, had an attic. It was fairly amazing. And of course we said, yeah. So then we had this house in disrepair. We fixed it up in such a way that women who were in crisis could actually stay there. We had bedrooms and beds and places where we could make beds and stuff like that. And then we started going out and speaking on the subject of rape and self-defense. We had 2 people there who were into self-defense. I mean, they held belts in karate, and one was actually a police officer. And we went out speaking on those topics, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger to where we opened up an actual center. We called it the Nashville Rape Prevention and Crisis Center. It was called that because someone suggested to us that we want to go beyond just the crisis portion of women's safety into preventing it. And that's, of course, why we had the self-defense experts and started giving actual classes on how to defend yourself when you're out somewhere and how to defend yourself in your own home if necessary. So we had open phone lines. We had a lot of publicity. We had a press conference one time, and in our audience was this most articulate black woman, just beautiful. And she didn't seem to have a chip on her shoulder. She didn't seem to be trying to make fun of us. Not that that actually happened, but people were there with other agenda than actually reporting on this critical need in our community. And her name was Oprah Winfrey, and she was a TSU student at the time. And she was so generous and so kind. And there was another woman from the Nashville, Tennessee, that really worked hard for us also. So we got the publicity that we needed. We opened up our phone lines and we sat waiting for those calls to come in. And they came in, but very slow. And then they started coming in very fast. And it wasn't necessarily women who had been attacked on the way to their car, or women who had been attacked by some stranger, as we used to call it, stranger danger. It was women in the home being beaten, raped, abused by their husbands or their boyfriends. I came from a pristine, healthy, nuclear family. I was still very young at this time, and it floored me. I'm embarrassed to say that at age 23, I didn't even know that stuff was happening. I may have seen it on TV or movies, Streetcar Named Desire, you name it, Johnny Melinda, but I never really realized that it was occurring here in our community. Well, our focus was mainly on abused women in relationships at first, and that opened up a whole other area that we had to look into, because it's not easy to go in and take a woman out of that situation. Unfortunately, even today, it's not easy to do that. But we did have rooms, we did have bedrooms. We let them bring their children if they needed to, and we had not counted on that, but we allowed that to happen. And we incorporated that also into what we were trying to end or bring some consciousness to in our community in Middle Tennessee and beyond about women, rape, and health and safety of women. The Rape Crisis Center, which I'll call it from now on, became quite well known, and we were in the media all over Tennessee, especially in the Nashville region, of course, but all over Tennessee, all over the South. Washington, D.C. had a Rape Crisis Center at that time. I was not aware of any other one at that time, so I think Nashville was one of the first outside of Washington, D.C. However, I do know that Atlanta and places like that were forming rape crisis centers, but ours was fairly early in this part of the country. Oh, I want to mention that our speaking engagements were actually done here in Nashville, in California, and New York, and places like that, because we were that well known during that period of time. So, as I said, I was very, very proud of the Nashville Rape Prevention and Crisis Center, and as my years go on, I'm almost 73 now, I feel even more pride in the fact that we were the center, the beginning, at least in this community, for some consciousness. Still has a long way to go. Still, women are still being attacked. Women are still being raped. There is still domestic abuse. But the sentiment behind it, those who are in support of ending this and controlling it, they're there. And it's just getting the right political element now to coming in again to do something about it. So we still got to work on it, but I'm proud of what we started.
Is this it? That's the building.
There you go. This is my building. As you can see, oh my gosh, it had a huge front porch that I think I have a picture of. $65 a month. This is in
$65 a month?
Yeah, this is in 1973. It makes me really emotional. I'm sorry. It does. It's just, this was such an important place. So here I am in front of the original stone to the Nashville Rape Crisis and Prevention Center. And it makes me very nostalgic and emotional, but also I feel good about what we did here and what I did. A lot of women working together. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful house, and it did a lot of good for people. It did for me, and I worked there, but it wasn't work. In the bedroom back there, and across the hall, 2 others across the hall, were used for people who needed space, away from danger, or they were just displaced women. The beauty of the place and what we did through some very tenuous and scary times, we had to keep our hearts open and give solace and comfort to a lot of women.